Stop talking about comic books or I'll kill you. I don't care if the Hulk could defeat the Man of Steel.
Hey there, comic fans. Bullseye Bob here, and welcome to Everything Comics. And what you've stumbled onto is a special episode of Having Comics with My Coffee. And of course, as always, I'm here live and in living color from the Refuge Coffee House, which is at 9217 Southeast Foster Road in Portland. And you're probably wondering why this episode is special. Well, as you can see next to me, I'm not alone. I have my two friends here with me, who are the owners and proprietors of the Refuge Coffee House, Keith and Kimmy Richardson. How you doing, guys?
Doing great.
Yeah, we're doing great.
Yeah,
awesome stuff. You know, I've had a lot of requests, people that watch the show, they're like, you need to bring them on sometime. And I thought, man, that's a great idea. You guys do so much for the show, and it'd be really cool to kind of showcase who you guys are and how we got to where we're at.
Absolutely.
So if you don't mind, we're just going to go ahead and get right into it.
Yeah, let's
so
do it.
Why don't you go ahead and tell our viewers just a little bit about yourselves.
You first.
Me first. Well, we've been in Oregon for many years. We weren't born and raised here, but we've been here a lot of years, a couple decades, and we've just grown a heart for this part of Portland. And been involved in a church here, raising our kids here, and just God put it in our hearts again to open another business. It's been a long time since we had a coffee shop, and it's really God put it in our hearts just to open a coffee shop in this area, in Lentz specifically. Oh, we have 4 girls, and we just love God and love people.
There you go.
So.
All right, so I'm Keith Richardson. This is Kimmy. She's the owner. I just run stuff.
He's the manager, I'm the owner.
We met in college. We were both music majors. She was a teaching major. I was a performance major. And so you know how artists go. You don't get any money from that.
Definitely not.
You just kind of like, I guess I'm doing all these other side jobs. So after that, we kind of fell into like doing church and doing ministry with Christian churches and that kind of thing. Moved up here specifically on Mount Hood in Welch's, and was doing ministry up there. Did a coffee shop up there for 7 years. Sold it, went to full-time ministry, focused on that part of things. And then there's a bunch of little stuff, but we worked for Portland Rescue Mission for several years, and then it was time to kind of move. We just felt that transition time, and we had fallen in love with the Lentz area and the things that are kind of coming around here, the new growth, kind of the change of the atmosphere from being so dark to being a more community-minded place. That's why we were drawn here. It was because when you get to talk to some of the community members, they're really about wanting it to make it more like a small town community for this section of Portland. And I just fell in love with that. My dad was in the Army, so I grew up moving around. So I've been in smaller towns, I've been in bigger towns, and I do miss that connectivity. It's kind of why I think Bob and I connect, is there's a connectivity there that, life can't just be work, home, hobby.
Yeah.
It's about connecting with people and living and not just being alive. And so that's kind of who we are in a nutshell. There's so much to us. We're both musicians. I preach. There's all kinds of craziness. There's all kinds of stories. I wasn't always a believer in Christ. I could tell you all kinds of stories from trying drugs and not really ever getting high, to because God protected me. That's how I look at it. To playing around with witchcraft. To looking at all kinds of stuff, and for me, that's not it. And anyways, there's all kinds of insanity there.
So one of the things that I wanted to ask you is that before you started a coffee shop, you already talked about ministry and things like that. What would you say predominantly has been your ministry up until this point?
Gosh, predominantly. Our ministry has been, it's twofold. It's through music, and then through praying with people.
Yeah,
That's been pretty much it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of times it's restoring people that already know God, have had a relationship with them, and it's just as simple as just reaching out to them and loving, just being bold enough to initiate the conversation, and instantly they're so relieved that somebody has the courage to talk to them, and instantly they jump back in and say, yeah, I used to have a relationship with God. That happens a lot.
Sure.
Restoration.
Yeah.
Man, and just embracing them and not shaming them, and just pulling them back in and saying, you belong with us.
Yeah.
We're here.
The reason why I ask is because a lot of times when people think of, pastoral care or what a pastor is, most of the time you think of somebody leading the church and preaching.
Right.
And you guys do those things. I've heard both of you
Right.
preach. But when it comes to your actual ministry, it goes a lot deeper than
It's
that.
in the marketplace.
And, yeah, exactly. And so I just
Yeah.
kind of wanted to ask that question because you guys do a lot more than just sit up in front of the church and do those type of things. And so your predominant ministry is to people,
That's right.
restoration, and
Yeah.
and as Keith said earlier, connection, which is so important.
Yeah.
And I think it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
For sure.
And so, so now I know you guys because you're part of my church, and you're part of the staff there, and we formed a relationship, and it's been awesome, to see how things have evolved over the years. But I know that at one particular point you had a coffee shop.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And what made you want to start another coffee shop?
You or me?
I'll just say a little and then you can follow up.
Okay.
So there was a lot of hesitation in starting another coffee shop because it is the biggest commitment. It's not just a small business commitment.
Yeah.
Coffee has early hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not just a business you can open at 9 or 10 o'clock and work 8 or 9 hours and then do your paperwork and stuff because you own it. It's so much more extreme than that. We have a nightlife around here too, so you're talking 15, 16-hour days, plus all the ordering and paperwork and everything that goes with it. So it was a big commitment, and I'm glad we had the time of rest between shops, several years, to kind of gear up for it again. But yeah, we had a lot of different things in place this time to protect ourselves from getting exhausted, and one of those is that we're closed one day a week. It's a family day. It's Sundays. We fellowship with our church family, and we spend time with our children and with each other. And so putting those things in place to make it possible to be healthy, to do it and be healthy at the same time.
That's good.
So why we started was it was the big push. It just, I can't explain it. It's not a tangible, logical thing. There's some business logic to it, of course, but a lot of it was prayer and fasting. And we'd had a vision in 2014, right?
Yep.
No, November of 2013.
There you go.
I knew I remember it. Okay, so, and we just had a vision, and it was, it's my phone, don't worry about it.
all right.
Who cares? We just had a vision of what it looked like. All we saw was serving people coffee, wood floors, high ceilings with open ducting.
Yeah, that's what the Lord showed us in 2013.
Yeah. I wonder what's in this space.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And loving people, and that's
And
teaching
then
people.
we knew it would be in a harder area, and that we
Yeah.
were going to have to deal with some of the homeless, and that's kind of it. And we separately had very similar visions and came together
At
and
the
went,
same moment.
"What are you thinking about?" Well, because we were fasting and praying at the time, and so I'm thinking about this, and with hesitation because we're like, "What?" And then lots of stuff happened between that November and 2019 of September. That's
5 years.
That's a long time to
Yeah.
just sit
5
on
years
something.
from
for
the
sure.
vision till the Lord said now.
Yeah.
Nice.
Here it is. Now's the time.
And certain things fell into place, and
Yeah.
here we are.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you talked about falling in love with this particular area,
Right.
And that's kind of one of those things that there are a lot of people out there that probably wouldn't fall in love with this area. You mentioned kind of the vision that they people had for this particular area, which is a driving factor. But let's just be honest. I mean, this particular area has not predominantly for many years been what we consider a very good area. I mean, people have called this felony flats.
That's right.
And
That's
so,
right.
what would drive somebody to going to open a business, right?
Yeah.
What would make somebody want to open a business here of all places?
Yeah.
Oh,
Bless you.
thank you. Why here? Well, first of all, why not here?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a fair question.
Yeah.
It is a fair
Yeah.
But
question.
most business owners, they're going to put themselves in an affluent area. They're going to put
Right.
themselves in a place of high foot traffic with
Yeah.
less problems from
Yep.
community members and
Yep.
things like that. And you've actually put yourself in the middle of
Yep.
what some
Put
people
ourselves
would
in harm's
call
way.
a war zone.
Yeah, it is. It is a war zone.
Yeah.
And definitely can be lately.
Yeah.
Although we've not found that personally yet, and we pray that continues.
Yeah, I hope so too.
So, why this area is mostly because it actually does make business sense. There's logistics. So God's not a God of confusion or something that is so wild that it doesn't make sense. Sometimes you don't understand in the moment, but you will in a bit. So the city has pumped money into this area to revitalize it. If you want
Millions.
to say.
Sure.
Literally millions.
So
yeah.
it's in its real beginning stages.
It's not even done. Yeah.
So that's one reason you want to be on the early stages of it, because you want to be part of that change, and that's what drives us. We want to be part of a really positive change, not to drive anybody out, but just to whoever is already here. Let's make this a better place for them. That's our heart, anyways, and we're hoping that the city has the same in mind. They say they do, so
Yeah.
we're gonna pray it in anyway. So there you go.
There you go.
But the other part of it, the spiritual part of it, is Jesus went where the needy were.
That's right.
He didn't. I mean, he was accused by all the religious people that he was hanging out with prostitutes and sinners. Okay, well, if that's where Jesus went, then that's where we go.
That's
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So, and that's really kind of the drive behind it, and why Lentz. And it really does come back. There is a community here that wants to be together and in
Yeah.
unity.
Yeah, that's right.
Even as they disagree on things,
Yeah.
they still want to make a good community for all.
Yeah.
And so I can't. Man, I like just that heart, that core heart in there is really awesome to see and great to be a part of.
Absolutely. When we first talked about planning the church out here, there were so many people who went to our head pastor Alpha and said, "You don't want to plant a church there because you'll never have any money." And he said that's not the driving force for anything. He
That's
said,
right.
do they need Jesus there? And if that's the case, that's where we're going to go.
Yeah, that's right.
And so we've
That's
been in
right.
this area ever since.
Yeah.
And so I'm so glad that to be able to hear your hearts on that, because a lot of people would question, why start a business in an area like that?
Yeah.
And to hear your hearts as to why you're doing it. Besides logistics, there's definitely a need for something like this to be open here, to create opportunities for you to be able to minister to people like that, to create community, for a place to go and things like that. I think it's amazing. I think it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And so now you had kind of mentioned a little bit earlier, what does the name Refuge mean? I mean, what was the whole concept behind calling it the Refuge?
Gosh, I can't remember the psalm off the top of my head. It's Psalm 9:9, and it's basically God is our refuge. And those who are oppressed,
Yeah.
That's
That
the
God
words.
is their refuge.
That God is their refuge. He's the refuge for the oppressed. And knowing that this area has always been spoken negatively about,
Yeah.
and then that perpetuates more negative as opposed to ever speaking positive into it.
Yeah. The words
And
are
so
important.
refuge has always been that place where we're supposed to make that allowance. What if just by coming in and that word and just a hello, they get to understand that God is for them and not against them?
Yeah.
Because we're not looking to shove religion anywhere.
No.
No, but we're looking for them to just have an aha moment, just long enough for them to hear the voice hear the voice of the Lord say, hey, I'm here for you.
Get true
I
rest,
want you to reach
true
out to me.
protection.
Yeah.
And understand that no matter what, there's a place for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love your heart for people. Often I see people walk in, and I've never seen you turn anybody away. We do have a large homeless community here, and then we also have a large area of crime as well. And I mean, there are people that walk in that I know that there are other places where it'd be like, no, you're not coming in here.
That's right.
And you've always been inviting, and I've always loved that, to watch it unfold and to see the reaction from them, which is, it's okay for me to be here, which is just awesome.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for what you do.
Yeah, that's why we're here.
Yeah, that's why we're here. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Just doing what we know has been put in there.
Yeah. And then, another thing too, I mean, this is, one of my favorite places to come hang out, just to grab my comic books or hang out with my friends and come in and, come and hang out and have a cup of coffee. One of the best cold brews in Portland, that's for sure.
That's right.
I mean, and so I really enjoy being able to come here, not just because you're my friends, but this is really good coffee, really great atmosphere. And my other friends, who don't go to our church, they all agree. They say the same thing.
That's so awesome. Yay.
The Portland Comics crew digs this place.
That's right.
Good. We hope
You don't
so.
need to be a Christian to like our coffee.
No, that's for sure.
It's
That's
so
for
good,
sure.
yeah.
And I can imagine what the hours are like because Portland is one of those places where everybody is into coffee at all times.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
In fact, when we started doing evenings before all the lockdown stuff, we had several people come in and go, on the behalf of all the night drinkers, we thank you for being open.
Coffee drinkers, thank you
And I was
so
like,
much.
Yeah.
Alrighty, well, we made a good decision then.
For sure. So let's talk about really quick, staying late, staying open late. I know here lately you've had to cut your hours down at nighttime, and because of the whole pandemic thing. And so, so I just wanted to understand how has the pandemic affected you guys in the business so far?
Well, to be honest, we try not to talk about it a lot because we don't want the woe is me, because we know there are people and businesses out there that are in a worse situation than we are.
Yeah.
And that sounds like a cop-out, and it might be a little bit,
No, it's true.
but it's true. Lockdown, we went from a certain level and 70% less.
Wow.
So we were operating at 30%.
So for 3 months, it's been, although the last couple of weeks it's
been better the last
it's
couple
been
of
better
weeks,
because the counties near us have opened And
up.
People,
that's right.
So people came out from those counties, and so that's been good. We opened in September, but the weird thing is like all the local help, the cutoff was July 1st.
Yeah, like we hadn't been open long enough to qualify for anything.
Any of those,
Oh, wow.
those loans you hear about on the media, no, we don't qualify for it.
Yeah.
Oh, my
So
word.
that gets rough. You're like, oh. And then we were so new, we only had a couple of part-time employees, and we were down to one at the time. And we were about to shift into hiring another one. But then, then the lockdown. So we actually didn't qualify for PPP because, well, there's a whole thing about it, but it just didn't work in our situation. I'll say it like that. We did finally get a loan, not anything that is helpful, but we'll have to pay it back, but it'll help us stay afloat. From the SBA, which is the Small Business Association of the federal government.
Right.
And so, but
We've had some amazing customers.
we've
that
had
have
some
kept us
amazing
going, that have come
support
in
and locals who
gifted
just
us, and it's really kept us afloat.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's
we
been incredible.
even today we had a gentleman come in who we've only see every once in a blue moon, even when it was regular, and he gave us a fat-o tip, and he's like, my wife and I decided we didn't need all our stimulus check.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
how do you
It's like you don't even know what to say. but
you're speechless with
Yeah.
that when people are so generous to you, and
Yeah.
we just want to honor those things and just keep going, first of all, and second of all, be able to pay it forward where we can.
Absolutely.
So
I understand that stance on things, but being outside of your business, looking in, to me, it's no wonder. You guys are amazing. What you do for the community is amazing. How you treat people, the heart that you bring to them. It's no surprise to me that people want to bless you in that way, because you guys have done an amazing job here, and I thank you so much for allowing me to come in every week, and
We love it.
Yeah, we love it.
do my show. And so a couple last questions. One of the things I wanted to find out is, how does that, how do you guys feel about that? I mean, you got this comic book show that happens on, Saturday morning, early in the morning. I mean, what has that been like for you guys?
Well, you answer first because I got lots.
I absolutely love it because I'm all about heroes and villains and stuff, and I don't read comic books, but I love the movies,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah.
probably, I don't know, is that sacrilege?
No.
I love the movies. I've always been into superheroes since I was a little kid, so I love it. And I love just the diversity of our shop is reaching multiple hobbies and things that people like, and I don't want to limit. I don't want to limit what can happen at Refuge Coffee House. I want it to be full and inviting to so many people. So
That's awesome.
So for me, it's the time where I get to talk nerdy stuff that's even beyond me because I'm nowhere near where Bob is. Good Lord.
it's not your job.
I'm like, wait, let me dive into the encyclopedia over here.
Right.
Ask him, hey, what about blah, blah, blah? And he'll, off the top of his head, answer all my crazy questions. It's probably seem basic, but yeah, I mean, it's the only time I get to talk nerdy comic book stuff. And yeah, I mean, I miss having that weekly thing going in, like when it was back in college,
Right.
But 4 daughters, I can't do that.
Yeah, I hear you. So you do have some comic book bona fides, though. I mean, you were a collector at one point.
Oh, yeah.
So talk to us about that. What did you collect? What was that like for you?
Okay, so here we go.
Bad stuff, man.
But not bad stuff. It was awesome. That stuff was awesome. So the first thing I collected was Spawn. So that'll tell you the time period right there. So
90s.
Yes, it's true.
Hey, we had the best music.
There we
That's all I'm
go.
gonna say. So I started I think it was issue 12. Mm-hmm. That's where I was, and then I was never able to get 1, 2, and 3, but I got 4. So by the time I was done, we were on 358, I think, and that's when I kind of had to stop and moved on. But I collected
258 because 300 just came out.
Oh,
All right, so
Okay,
it must
yeah.
shows you my memory.
Right.
So somewhere I was well into it. It was several boxes long.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so I'll say it like that. And then Dark Knight, and then in the 90s, DC redid Spectre.
Oh, yeah.
Just reissued it, and I was really into Spectre. X-Man.
I remember X-Men, for sure.
And then some random ones, like I did most of all the Crow stuff. I read most of Sandman because my friend had it, so we would switch. That's what he had. I had stuff, and we would switch. That's how we could afford more.
Of course.
He got stuff I didn't get, and then I got stuff he and then
Yeah.
so, yeah. Like he did Flash and Impulse. Yeah, so all that stuff.
That's awesome.
That was kind of a lot of it revolved around X-Men, Batman, Dark Knight, a few of the Dark Horse stuff, and,
Sure.
and like Sandman and stuff, and those other ones. That's where I stayed.
Right.
I never really ventured out beyond that. I get like special issues here and there, like certain crossover issues. But other than that, it's kind of just stayed there. My budget was so small.
Yeah.
So I
Well, I love it because, there are certain times when I'm talking about something and you'll hear it and you'll ask me about it, or there's other times that I can explain to you what's going on inside of the show, and you have a base of knowledge with which to draw from, and that's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
And but again, it's one of my favorite parts of the week is just to come on here on a Saturday morning, grab a cold brew or pour over, and hang out with everybody who's going to watch and review my comic books, and it's just been an absolute joy. I can't tell you how many people have mentioned that it's an awesome concept, number one. Then number two, they've wanted to meet you guys.
Yeah.
So this is an opportunity for us to meet the owners of the Refuge, and because it's been an awesome time just being here. why don't you go ahead and let our viewers know what you have on your website available, because one of the things that I've said for the last couple of shows is that this is a trying time, and if you'd be so kind just to go check it out and see what you got, and every little bit goes to help keeping the lights on and keeping the business running. And so let us know what you got.
Yeah.
Our website's limited, but it's because we want to focus on this, on the hope. Because no matter where you're at in your belief system or non-belief system, everybody needs hope. If you lose your hope, you'll stop. You'll give up, and we don't want you to give up. We want you to push through, even when it's hard. If it sucks, life can be crappy at times. But if you can just by wearing the word, you're going to remind yourself. Then you get other people see it, and they're like, "Yeah, hope." And you can have the worst day, but if you can just get that little hope to hold on to, to hang on to, I think if anything, some of the comics teaches us that. I mean, how many times? I mean, Batman's back being broken, but he had that little bit, that drive, some people would call it.
That's right.
To keep going, because he knew, if I make it out of this, I'll make this right.
Right.
If I do this, I mean, how many superheroes do we read and listen to, and even the anti-heroes? There's thing. Now, for us, that's going to be Jesus, but for somebody else, we just want you to have that hope. If you wear it, it just reminds yourself and others, like, hey, there is hope. There can be hope. Let's come together. So what we have on our website is Hope Gear. So we have a hat, we have mesh back, we have the Flex Fit, we have shirts. Hopefully by tomorrow I'll have the hoodies up there.
Nice.
And then the V-neck ones as well. So that's what I'll send you to. So it's refugecoffeepdx.com. refugecoffeepdx.com. And you just go on there, and it's through PayPal and stuff, and it's all secure. And then it's free shipping. That's all included in the price. And then we just ship it to you. So it doesn't matter if you live here or not. You can come get it. So we would love to see you
and come get it.
And just say hello. And that would be awesome. But if you're not, in Portland, if you just want to go there and support us that way, and then you're also spreading this great message.
Absolutely. And if you do come into town, like I tell you every show, make sure you let me know, because I'd love to hang out with you here. We'll get together. Coffee will be on me. We'll talk some comics, talk whatever, and we'll have a good time, because this place is awesome to come to. It is a refuge, and it has been meant so much to this show. Thank you guys very much for allowing us to meet you for a little bit, and for allowing us to come in here. And we just really appreciate you guys.
All right.
Awesome
Thank
stuff.
you, Bob.
Thank you guys very much for watching. Again, Refuge Coffee House, 9217 Southeast Foster Road in Portland, Oregon. Let us know if you're going to be here. We really appreciate you guys watching the show and giving us all the support that you do. Thank you very much, guys. And remember always to support your local comic shop. And as always, Excelsior. Y'all take care.
Like, share, subscribe.
There you go. Thank you.